falling through the atmosphere, I was doing research into space science because I was writing curriculum on space science, and I came across the story of Joseph Kittinger, and I'd never heard of it before, and most people I knew had never heard of him. It's not like he's become this really famous guy, but the story was just so amazing. So that I took this photograph, a black and white overhead transparency of it, into a classroom. I put it on the overhead screen before this book was published or anything, and I had this little first draft of this written up. And the kids, I put this picture up in black and white transparency, they're like, whoa! Oh my God! They were just so thrilled by that image and so thrilled by the story. So I thought, well, why not use this story as a hook to explore the atmosphere? Because the assignment I had here for this book was write a book on the atmosphere. The atmosphere is hard to get. You can't go there, except unless you're Joseph Kittinger. And he only went in the lower part of the atmosphere, but he went up there and he was able to experience it. So what I was trying to do was, in his descriptions, he's talking about how he's falling fast without any sound. That's a great direct experience of the atmosphere where there's very little air. You don't hear the sound, and it's super cold up there, and he knew it was cold, and he had problems with his glove, so you could feel the pressure, lack of pressure. Something that didn't end up in the final version of this book was the fact that one of his gloves malfunctioned, and he didn't want to tell anybody down on the ground because he thought they'd abort the mission, and they'd been planning on it forever. It was hard to do this mission. So he didn't tell them, and he knew he might lose his hand as a result, but he wanted to do the investigation. So his hand got really large. It ended up healing in a few days, so it didn't turn out to be a big problem. But in the original version of that, we kept that in here because we're talking about air pressure. It was a great example of pressure. There's less pressure up there. Your hand gets huge, if you're not in a special suit. As it worked out, we decided to take air pressure out of the unit because we had too many concepts in, and we found that kids were having a hard time with it. And it's true of all curriculum in every book. You always have too much. You have to take stuff out in order for it to make more sense. So we took that part out of there. But his story is so fascinating. I love the fact that he rolls around, looks up, and he sees, it's the middle of the day, and he sees black sky, and kids love that too. Like, wow, this is a different place up there. It really is different up there. So his story makes the atmosphere in the upper atmosphere, well, not really upper, high altitude, real for kids.